What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome to r/AskReddit, where going on autopilot can make deliveries really awkward. If you're like me and tired of all the negativity out there, then come on in for your daily dose of Reddit hope and happy. Okay, so the Ask Reddit question was, what's something weird /funny /embarrassing you've done on autopilot? Woke up, automatically got out of bed, got dressed, brushed my teeth, packed up my backpack, headed out of my dorm, then happened to glance at the clock in the lounge. It was 1:30 a.m. Yeah, I did that in college. My dog's favorite part of the day is dinner time. I pull out her food, she starts wagging and doing the tippy taps, get a scoop of food, and instead of going to her bowl, I dump the full scoop into the trash can. She then just looked at me with the saddest eyes and I felt terrible. So she got a little bit of extra food and some pets. It's amazing how intelligent dogs can be, and yet at the same time, just so not. Oh, I miss my dogs, though. Man, this makes me miss Scotty and Emma. I heard the doorbell go the moment I stepped out of the shower. Without thinking, I rushed to answer the door, forgetting that I was dripping wet and completely naked. The poor delivery guy didn't know where to look, and it took me a minute to realize what situation I was in. Oh, I can just imagine how awkward that would be. Dipped a knife in a cup and tried to drink out of a jam jar. Can't imagine that worked very well for you. At the gym, there is an arm curl machine. Typically, I do a heavy amount, but that day I was tired and pretty brain dead. As I used the machine, I didn't realize that there was no weight on it, and I tried curling it with effort as normal. I ended up slamming myself in the head with the bar, and everyone in the gym heard it. Oh, that really had to hurt. Oh, frick. I always take my shirt off after my shoes when I get undressed. So there I was, around 4:30 in the morning, headed through security to fly across the country for a festival. Now, I'm nowhere near close to awake, and I'm totally running on autopilot. I'm throwing my stuff on the conveyor, I take my shoes off, and I started to take my shirt off, and the very attractive TSA lady was like, "Slow down, sir, we just met." I didn't know they came with a sense of humor. I didn't know that either. Normally my interactions with TSA have been, the best you could say would be professional, and the worst being very unpleasant. Glad there's at least one with a sense of humor. Reposting my own comment from a few years ago in a similar thread, because I still think this is my best response to this question. Came into work to work front of house after several extended nights of profound insomnia. I was holding up okay until a gal walks up with a dog in her arms. Now, I always chat people up about their dogs because A, dogs are awesome, and B, people love to talk about their dogs, and often tip a little more when they feel like they've actually connected with you. Today, though, I didn't have two neurons to rub together to break from the script of, "Hey, what can I get for you? Here's your total. Do you want a receipt?" And so I lean over the counter like a drunk, lock my sleep-starved, unfocused, googly eyes on this poor lady, and blurt out, "Your dog, who is he?" And then expectantly stare at her like that was a normal and not at all insane thing that I just kinda vomited at her. She kinda stared at me and clutched her dog a little closer, and I think I probably went a little cross-eyed and tried to salvage the conversation by talking more. I don't remember what I said, but it was definitely not an improvement on the situation. It may not have even been a coherent sentence. That's pretty good. Yeah, there's not really much of a way you can recover from that. Go to check the mail, grab the keys. Oh yeah, there is garbage/recycling that needs to go out. I stop at the mailbox, I get mail, throw away the garbage, throw away the mail, throw away my keys. Neighbor asks if I'm going to need those. I just kind of stop, look around a bit, and say, "Well, yeah, probably." Yeah, just slightly important, just a little bit. I was getting out of my car and went to take a sip of my iced coffee. Unfortunately, I put the end of my car key in my mouth instead. Okay, so random thing, but that just kind of reminds me of this one experience I had with a coworker at my last job. She was the news director, and I will never forget this because it was just so funny. But there was this one day she came in and she was like, "Can you help me find my glasses?" And I'm like, okay. And so I walk from my little studio into the newsroom, and she's just looking everywhere for them. And she's like, I went to the car and I couldn't find them. I need them to be able to read the news. And I look at her, I'm like, are you referring to the glasses that are currently on your face? And she just gives me this like super wide-eyed stare, like she can't decide if I'm being sarcastic and super disrespectful or if I'm being serious. And so her hand goes up to her face, and sure enough, there's glasses there, and she just stares at me like, oh, well, I suppose I was, thank you. And I'm just like, you're welcome, and just walk back to work. And it was the craziest thing. She never did that again. And she'd never done that up to that point. It was just one of those random days where she was like, yeah. I love her to death, but it was just such a weird experience. Yesterday, I jumped out of my truck thinking it was in park, and it drove away from me. I jumped back in and hit the brake about 1 foot before crashing into a building. Dude, you got lucky. I guess I listen to too many podcasts because I keep trying to pause work conference calls. I've also caught myself trying to increase my husband's volume by pushing buttons on my phone while we're in a room together having a conversation. Okay, so other ADD tangent here. That just reminds me of this thing I saw from, like, Dumbest Yahoo Questions or whatever, like years ago, where this kid legitimately asked, what did my dad just say? And then his explanation was, I had my headphones in and I couldn't hear him. Like, I don't know if it was just a troll or if this kid was serious, but it's like, what? Hey, so real quick, before we jump to the next one, if you've got a similar autopilot story of your own, go ahead and drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys, because all of you are just wonderful, and I appreciate the support you've all given the channel, and any time that I can engage with you, I really love to do so. I just finished getting my hair cut and walked out to get into my car. I got into the back seat and sat there for a minute before realizing that I drove myself there. Worst part was the salon has a glass storefront, and I was parked front and center. I had a deadline and I was very sleep deprived. I drank a lot of coffee, so I had to visit the loo a lot. One particular pee visit, late at night, I went to wash my hands as usual, but the tap wouldn't budge. I kept turning it, yet no water would come out. So I did what most adults would do when that happens. I started crying and called for someone to check it, saying that I broke the tap in between gasps. Boyfriend walked to the sink and magically fixed the tap. I was turning it the wrong way. To be fair, early morning little visits like that can really throw you. Trying to use my house keys to board the bus. So what, did you try to put them in the bus doors and turn them? Or did you try to pay with them? Or what exactly? I'm not 100% sure how you would have used them to board. Put my Bluetooth headphones in the freezer to charge. Wanted to go to work with the car, but forgot to turn the engine on. I stood there for 10 minutes trying to figure it out. A neighbor even came to help me and didn't see the problem. Oh, classic. Put my cat in the kitchen drawer. How did you manage to do that? Seriously, how did you manage to put a cat in an actual drawer? I cannot imagine trying to do that with Zorro. He would bite and claw and squirm until he was literally dead from exhaustion. You must have had one really chill cat. Right after high school, I worked as a pharmacy technician during the week and a waitress on weekends. Sometimes I'd waitress a dinner shift during the week, and the next day, without fail, I'd almost always answer the phone at the pharmacy saying, "Thank you for calling Pizza Hut, Brown's Pharmacy." I've done the same in a similar circumstance. I've sent nearly half a dozen emails addressed to all with "see attached," without adding the attachment. Each time I've done that, I think I lost a few months of my life due to self-dread and loathing. That's funny. One morning, I was sick and stayed home from work. My wife was being really awesome and served me breakfast. Trying to show her how thankful I was, I said, "Thanks, Mom." We both just stared at each other for a second, then burst out laughing. I do that with my wife all the time. Took my newborn kid to the grocery store with my wife. I had a buggy with a baby, she had a buggy with the groceries. I had been rocking the buggy back and forth to soothe the kid since he was getting antsy. My wife and I traded buggies, so she had the baby, and I had the groceries. Cue me rocking the buggy with groceries in the cereal aisle. Hey, at least you've got a good paternal instinct on autopilot. I was late to my first day of work. Autopilot me chose to go to my previous employer of 15 years where I'd quit. I realized that about 5 minutes before getting there and had to drive about 25 minutes back in the direction I came from. Old job was about 30 minutes depending on traffic, new job was about 5. Same industry, new coworkers just laughed it off. 15 years of the same commute, same truck, same tools, just another Monday on autopilot. Oh, can I relate with that? So, the route to my last job is very similar to the route my wife and I take to get to Costco. And up until I got laid off, every so often I would just stay on that road instead of taking the exit to get to Costco. And then I'd have to loop back around once I realized what I'd done. Yeah. Oh gosh, this makes me want to die. My ex-boyfriend and I had this thing where we'd take things out of context and make them mushy. Like, I might say, tonight's sunset is really beautiful, and he'd say, no, you're really beautiful. Or, ouch, this soup is so hot, would be answered with, ouch, you are so hot. Once my coworker sampled one of our coffee creamers, made a face and said, that's far too sweet. I automatically responded with, no, you're far too sweet, imitating his voice and face while still working at my desk. When I looked up after realizing I said it aloud, his eyes were pretty wide. Just be glad you didn't get called to HR over that. People have gone in for less. I was saying goodbye to my aunt at her husband's funeral and accidentally said, yeah, it was fun, when she said thanks for coming. Fun is not quite the word I would use to describe a funeral, but okay then. I talk to adults like I talk to my dogs, all the time. I use a baby voice towards grown adults. My baby voice is very condescending, apparently. It's hard to do a baby voice and not be. Was in college working full-time nights as a security guard and full-time class. Stopped at a red light, pushed my garage door opener, and drove through. Luckily, there were no cars around. Oh gosh. Yes, seriously, luckily. My goodness. I used to work at the airport and got used to yelling the words, next please, a lot. One week I was working really long shifts and was pretty tired. I decided to stop at McDonald's on my way home from work and went through the drive-thru. When I stopped to tell them my order, I yelled, next please, into the speaker. Yeah, that probably confused them just a little bit. I once tried to zoom in on a paper when I wanted to fix a tiny detail in my drawing. I was very tired, mind you, but that was still sort of funny to me because I did it like 4 or 5 times before realizing, wait, this isn't my phone. Stood in front of my work locker, pulled out my car key fob, and kept pushing unlock. During Halloween, a child came to my door and said, trick or treat. And for some reason, I replied with, welcome to my work. How can I help you? I was at the grocery store using the self-checkout. I scanned over $150 of items, bagged everything, took my items, and left without paying. Only while unpacking everything at home, I realized what happened. After calling my credit card company to confirm, I repacked everything up and returned to the grocery store to check out. Again. Well, props to you for that. Not everyone would have done so. Speaks very highly of your character that you'd be willing to do that. Was super tired. The route to my therapist and my workplace is the same for the first few miles. Was 10 minutes past the split when I realized I needed to go to work and not the dock. So I turned around. I was home before I realized I still needed to go to work. Well, hopefully you weren't late. Still though, man, I can I can totally relate to these. There's more funny and uplifting AskReddit if you click the button on the left, or if you want to see what YouTube thinks is best for you, go ahead and click the button on the right. Now you guys stay safe, stay healthy. I will see you all tomorrow with more positive Reddit content. Until then, stay beautiful, people.